Music change.
Philadelphia.
Phones are up. We're locked and loaded.
Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
It's crazy because they like arrive on time too, which is like a subtle thing that Joe Biden never did either. God damn, dude, it's electric out here. Walz is another elderly gentleman? No, he's the same age as Kamala Harris. He just looks old. By American standards, he's youthful, brother. He's 60.
So here's the thing. Since the day that I announced my candidate, I set out to find a partner who can help build this brighter future. A leader who will help unite our nation and move us forward. A fighter for the middle class. A patriot who believes, as I do, in the extraordinary promise of America. A promise of freedom, opportunity, and justice, not just for some, but for all.
Big balls walls, baby.
So, Pennsylvania, I'm here today because I found such a leader. Governor Tim Walz of the great state of Minnesota.
I don't think this dude had any ambition like this, by the way. That's another thing that is, like, in my opinion, overlooked. He was just good. He was good and he did the right things, and that's why he's here.
To those who know him best, he's more than a governor. To his wife, Gwen, he is a husband. To his kids, he is a dad. To his fellow veterans, he is Sergeant Major Walz. To the people of southern Minnesota, for 12 years, he was congressman. To his former high school students, he was Mr. Walz.
This speech is a bit lame, I'm not gonna lie, but it's all good.
And to his former high school football players, coach. Coach. And in 91 days.
Not that it matters.
The nation will know Coach Walz by another name, Vice President of the United States. So, America, they're just getting to know Coach Walz. And I'll tell you, he is the proud product of a middle-class family in rural Nebraska. He is a veteran who served our nation in uniform for more than 2 decades
24
as a
years
member
of
of the Army National Guard, and he went to college on the GI Bill. He is someone who, long before he entered politics, worked as a teacher. Coach Walz taught social studies. After school, Tim was the linebacker.
Normal-ass people, bro. Normal-ass people. Undefeated.
Where I've heard the stories about he had a knack for using the game of football to teach life lessons. Under those Friday night lights, Coach Walz motivated his players to believe they could achieve anything. And together, they defied the odds, going from a winless record to the school's first ever state championship.
Oh my God, it's so Jover. It's so good.
And I'll say and I'll add, Tim wasn't only a role model on the football field. Around that same time, Coach Walz was approached by a student in his social studies class. The young man was one of the first openly gay students at the school and was hoping to start a gay-straight alliance. At a time when acceptance was difficult to find for LGBTQ students, knew the signal that it would send to have a football coach get involved.
Oh, that's so good.
So he signed up to be the group's faculty advisor. And as students have said, he made this school a safe place for everybody.
What a gift. What a gift.
In the high school yearbook, the students voted Coach Walz the, quote, most inspiring faculty member.
If he cries, I will cry. If he cries real tears, I might actually cry too. I think our brains are so warped by how unimaginably abnormal politicians are on both sides of the party that, like, when you have a normal dude like this, all of a sudden it just comes across as, like, insane.
In his state, he has been a model chief executive, and with his experience, I'm telling you, Tim Walz will be ready on day one. And after all, you know, the promise of America is what makes it possible for 2 middle-class kids. One, a daughter of Oakland, California, who was raised by a working mother. The other, a son of the Nebraska plains who grew up working on a farm. Only in America, is it possible for them together to make it all the way to the White House.
beautiful dynamic, beautiful juxtaposition. You got lockdown, urban vote, upper middle class professional, and you got like a straight farmhand coming from the Democratic Farmer and Labor Party of Minnesota. Like it's a great perfect representation of all the constituencies that you would want to fucking win over.
And so Coach Walz and I may hail from different corners of our great country, but our values are the same. And we both believe in lifting people up, not knocking them down. And so with Tim Walz by my side, and with all of you at our side, let us fight for the promise of our future. Welcome the next Vice President of the United States, Tim Walz.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. He's going to cry, bro. Please don't cry.
Thank you, Philadelphia. Thank you, Madam Vice President, for the trust you put in me, but maybe more so, thank you for bringing back the joy. I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you and Doug, this incredible journey. And I can't wait for all of you and America to get to know my incredible wife, Gwen, a 29-year public school educator.
My fucking goat!
Don't ever underestimate teachers. And our two beautiful kids, Hope and Gus. I couldn't be prouder to be on this ticket and to help Vice President Harris become what we all know is very, very good for us to think about. Next President of the United States of America.
Motherfucker, name one of his children Gus, bro, is such a lock. You love that he claps for his own speech? It's actually a socialist leader trait. I'm not even joking. In like crowd psychology, it shows that you're a part of like the group that you're speaking to. You're speaking with, not to. Slavoj Žižek has talked extensively about how Stalin used to do this.
I was born in West Point, Nebraska. I lived in Butte, a small town of 400, where community was a way of life. Growing up, I spent the summers working on the family farm. My mom and dad taught us, show generosity towards your neighbors and work for a common good. My dad served in the Army during the Korean War. And with his encouragement, at 17, I joined the Army National Guard. For 24 years, I proudly wore the uniform of this nation. It gave me the strength of a shared commitment to something greater than ourselves. And just as it did for my dad and millions of others, the GI Bill gave me a shot at a college education.
Dude, that's so sick. Openly writing like what is like the closest that you can get to unconditional social safety nets
and I followed in their footsteps. For nearly 20 years, I had the privilege of teaching high school social studies and coaching football, including winning that state championship. So thank you. But it was my students. They encouraged me to run for office. They saw in me what I was hoping to instill in them.
I believe this. I don't think he had any fucking
a belief that one person can make a difference.
I don't think he thought he was like running
for
president.
So in 2006, I took a leap and I ran for Congress.
He's literally the opposite of fucking Shapiro in that regard.
Minnesota's strength comes from our values, our commitment to working together, to seeing past our differences, to always being willing to lend a helping hand. Those are the same values I learned on the family farm and tried to instill in my students. I took it to Congress and to the state capitol. Vice President Harris and I are running to take those very values to the White House.
Yeah, he's the complete opposite of Biden, who's a corrupt career politician. He's another guy who rose to the merit from the bottom.
Donald Trump sees the world a little differently than us.
I think repackaging socialism or socialist policies or social safety nets as neighborliness is so fire. I'm nutting, dude.
Again and again and again, Trump weakens our economy to strengthen his own hand. He mocks our laws, he sows chaos and division, and that's to say nothing of his record as president. He froze in the face of the COVID crisis. He drove our economy into the ground, and make no mistake, violent crime was up under Donald Trump. That's not even counting the crimes he committed. Some of us in here are old enough to remember. I see you down there. I see those old white guys. Some of us are old enough to remember when it was Republicans who were talking about freedom. It turns out now what they meant was the government should be free to invade your doctor's office.
Yes. Yes.
In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make.
patient doctor, no third party.
Even if we wouldn't make the same choice for ourselves, there's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business. What direction will this country go in? He's not going back. Well, Donald Trump would damn sure take us backwards. Let's be clear about that. And don't believe him when he plays dumb. He knows exactly what Project 2025 will do to restrict our freedoms, to rig the economy to help the super rich. If Trump gets a chance to return, he's going to pick up exactly where he left off 4 years ago. Only this time, it will be much, much worse. And when somebody tells you they believe him. He said he'd ban abortion across this country, and he'll do it, whether or not Congress is there or not. Donald Trump's not fighting for you or your family. He never sat at that kitchen table like the one I grew up at, wondering how we were going to pay the bills. He sat at his country club up in Mar-a-Lago, wondering how he can cut taxes for his rich friends. And I got to tell you, his running mate shares his dangerous and backward agenda for this country. J.D. Vance literally wrote the foreword for the architect of the Project 2025 agenda. Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, J.D. studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community. Come on! That's not what middle America is. And I got to tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. Pointing out just an observation of mine that I made. I just have to say it. You know it, you feel it. These guys are creepy and yes, just weird as hell. That's what you see. That's what you see. So you know what's out there, so say it with me. We aren't going back. So we got 91 days. My God, that's easy. We'll sleep when we're dead.
He's the method, bro. He's the method.
Over those next 91 days and every day in the White House, I'll have Vice President Harris's back. Every single day. And we'll have yours.
I'm just going to say one thing. Holy fuck, dude. I'm not used to the Democratic Party being competent and making right decisions, but that's what it feels like when they actually do. I mean, this is like every single thing that I said would be the best possible scenario, and they followed through on it. One thing I have to mention here, the reason why I say Kamala Harris is like, she's all right in terms of like being an orator is because think about the difference between her and the speech that she delivered versus the way that Tim Walz was delivering his speech. The reality of the matter is he's pretty fucking solid. He is naturally charismatic in a kind of goofy, endearing way. I think that he plays really well the bass. It's a great contrast. Kamala Harris is incredibly educated, obviously like represents one pathway in the American dream, coming from a family being raised by a single mother, immigrant parents, and you know, becoming the vice president now, running for president. Like that shit is really, really captivating in terms of representation. It's really captivating for a lot of people of color across the board. That is a story that a lot of people share in this country. On the other hand, you got Tim Walz also coming from a working class background, literal fucking farmhand shit from Arkansas or Nebraska, becoming a teacher, serving the military. He is so authentic. He comes across very authentic, very endearing. I think that, I mean, this is a really, really fucking solid this is a really solid ticket. I don't think Walz ever was like, oh yeah, I have ambitions. Like I have higher office ambitions. As a matter of fact, someone was bringing up his one-time quote about how he'd rather eat glass than go back to DC. And I think that he was basically called into action his legislative accomplishments. Josh Shapiro, on the other hand, very ambitious. Pete Buttigieg, very ambitious. Barack Obama was also very ambitious. Barack Obama, on the other hand, was very charismatic as well, and could communicate in a way that at least seemed authentic. I think Tim Walz gives off a totally different vibe, and he was basically built in a lab to dominate American politics. He's got the best biography and the best and got policy chops. A great choice. That's why I was behind him earlier when people were talking about others. They don't have that role player come off the bench mentality. Like, it's kind of crazy that people were even thinking about Pete Buttigieg, a dude who was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, when you got a fucking dude who was a governor, who was a congressperson, committee chairs and shit. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, overall, Republicans are gonna be ruthless. They're gonna be weird. They're gonna talk about how, like, I've seen liberals on Twitter saying they like Walz, but they're concerned by the fact that you also like him. If someone is like negatively polarized towards liking a candidate because I like them, they have the brain capacity of a hamster. Like that's it. That's the dumbest thing on the fucking planet. If someone is genuinely making political calculations about like what someone they have been negatively primed into hating thinks, it's just like, you should just go outside. You should never touch a computer. That's how great Walz is. They have the link to haters for an attack. Yeah, he plugged up a lot of holes that Kamala had that Republicans were going to attack. Well, the other side of this story that like a lot of people, I was actually very worried with a Shapiro pick. I was worried that Kamala Harris would probably tack to the center. It is a age-old Democratic Party instinct to tack to the center when you get attacked by the right. When they call you a radical, instead of doubling down on your proposals and being like, what do you think? You think feeding children is radical? Well, fucking, you're the radical. You're the weirdo. You know what I mean? Instead of doing that, Democrats oftentimes turn around and they hit center. They go, no, I'm not a radical. Oh my God, God forbid, don't call me a socialist. Oh my God, I'm so scared. You don't have to be a socialist. As long as you're improving the material conditions of the working class in this country, you don't have to call yourself a socialist. You don't have to say you're a socialist. That's what matters. Stick to the fucking policies, not these like dumbass labels.